got a t-shirt with bloodstains all over it. Maybe laundry isn't your biggest problem right now.
I remember the day the candle shop burned down. Everybody just stood around and sang happy birthday.
And a security guard came over and said, "You're gonna have to move. You're blocking the fire exit." As though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run.
You make love to the right woman, Johnny, is beautiful, beautiful. I mean, the last time I made love to my wife, it was ridiculous. Nothing was happening. I looked at her, I said, "What's the matter? Can't you think of anyone either?"
I never learn, you know, like a waitress will bring my meal. "Hey, enjoy your meal, you too!" But you don't have one, do you? I'm a doofus. If you do eat, enjoy it when you eat it. If you have a break or something later, if you get an opportunity, that's all I'm trying to say. That's all that I'm driving at, really.
Hello, welcome to Comedy Think Tanked, a podcast with Leonard Kimball and Nick Gordon, two comedians who know how to take a drink and have a thought. Sit back, get comfortable, and enjoy. Now, whether they're ready or not, here's your hosts, Leonard and Nick.
Thank you and hello and welcome to Comedy Think Tanked. I am Nick Gordon, and with me, as always, is my co-host Leonard Kimball. Leonard,
Hello.
how's it going?
Good, Nick. How are you?
Not too bad. Pretty excited about this interview that we did with Mr. Nic Dufault. It was our first live and in-person interview.
Live and in person, yeah. In his illustriously decorated garage with his, with his bachelor ping pong table.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. I actually stuck around and played a little ping pong after.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that was cool. It was great to see him and great to be live and in person. And we talked about how the three of us are the River Comics production team for stand-up comedy here in the state of Maine, and hopefully beyond someday. But it was a good time. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we were able to do it live and in person. Hopefully more can follow in that same vein. We have been producing comedy recently.
Yes.
Even though we're still in the early stage of 2021, and recently we've done a few live shows, and it's been it's been great. But there are some I don't know, what do you want to call them? What do you want to call them?
Difficulties?
Difficult?
Or...
I guess that's probably the best word.
I mean, there's always difficulties when we're producing comedy shows, but now that we're dealing with a pandemic, and maybe only half the population is dealing with the pandemic, because the other the other half might not think there's a pandemic, and might be problematic when people are like, "Oh yeah, we have to have some social distancing, and we have to have some just you have to wear a mask, please, when you're not eating or not performing." And it becomes tough.
Yeah, it does become tough, and let's just explain what happened. We did a show. We did a couple shows in one night, and it was at a venue, a hotel venue, in a ballroom, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And we had some great comedians there, and they served food and drinks, and it was the whole shebang, a full-on production for a comedy show. And at the early show, we had some wait staff tell a patron that since they weren't eating or drinking any longer, they needed to put their mask on, and that escalated pretty quickly.
Yeah. You wouldn't think it would escalate. It's like, "Oh, but we're not eating or drinking." Yeah, no, well, I'm sorry, that's our policy. The signs are literally everywhere. There's probably like 8 different signs walking into the place, and then a huge sign right by the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he stood up and dropped every swear word we could possibly
Yeah.
And all I could think of was, well, this isn't the late show. You can't swear like that.
Right, right. We're like, we said we're gonna curse more at the 10 o'clock show, but like,
Yeah,
man,
but we got him. He got them all out of the way early. All
yeah,
over just whether or not to wear a mask. I mean, I think you and I know how each other stands. I think it's safe to say we both are just like whatever, just wear the mask.
yeah.
Uh, but as producers of shows, that was the first time something like that has ever happened, right?
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever. Yeah, I think that's the first time I ever kicked anybody out of a show. I have like maybe reluctantly gone up to a table to people, ask people to be quiet at a show, like they were being too loud. But
Yeah,
nothing's ever escalated to where I actually had to kick people out.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, the hostess there when we could tell that she was having a difficult time, and she looked over at me and she like gave me the eyes and said they have to leave. I'm like, okay, and so I like went to like my chivalry mode and sort of swooped in and said like, sorry guys, you guys got to go, and then like all the curse words flying at her, and I'm like, dude, just take it easy. I mean, come on. And like,
yeah.
and on the way out, I was like, I don't think I'm trying to think of the last time or if it's ever happened. I don't think I've ever. I must have. I mean, I don't think I've ever had someone angrily yell at me, "Fuck you." But I'm trying to think of how often that's actually happened to me that someone has yelled "fuck you" at me.
Yeah, it's happened to me in my other part of life where I am a sports official.
Okay.
It's definitely happened, but in the context of, I have power, you do not. It's a game, and I can now penalize you for what you've just done.
Oh yeah.
In yeah.
Right.
So it's more controlled. In real life, though, you can't walk around, wherever you are, whether it's a comedy show, at the grocery store. Like you can't always be thinking to yourself, like, what happens if this guy comes up to me and tells me to fuck off?
Right.
Like, in a car driving down the road, obviously people flip people off all the time for cutting each other off and whatever. And
Oh
as
yeah.
we all know,
Yeah, I'll admit that I've flipped the bird to someone before. It was like it was like it I don't know, for lack of a better word, it did trigger me a little bit. Like
yeah,
I did like I think I mean I've taken or I've been aware of like how to sort of like de-escalate situations, but when he said that to me, thankfully he was like 20 feet away from me because I did feel myself leaning into him, and I thought like, well, that's not good. I shouldn't have done that. I should not have
yeah,
done that. I should not have leaned into him because I realized like what I just did there would have it's just feeding into the energy
hmm
he's giving back at me. And if he had been 3 feet from me, then he might have decided to take a swing at me or push me or something like that.
you just
And
never know.
yeah, you never know. I would have to
Yeah.
go into like my Beverly Hills Ninja mode and barrel roll around
Those
him
are
or
good
something.
movies. Yeah, those are
Yeah.
good movies. No, it's hard. It's hard to be in that situation because it's not a common thing that you have to deal with in everyday life. From being at home and the workplace and generally at a comedy show.
Right. It's like
Uh,
where people have paid to
yeah,
attend. It's
yeah.
like
There
we're
were
all here
tickets
for some
bought.
laughs. There were
Yeah.
tickets bought. People were like, yeah, let's have some laughs. We all need some laughs, right?
Maybe he was pissed because the table he bought the tickets for the table, like he bought the table and his friends hadn't paid him back yet. So maybe he was a little
Oh,
angry because they were like stiffing him on that part of it. And he was drinking. I'm not gonna say anything. I mean, I know Nic Dufault loves Bud Light, but this guy was drinking Bud Lights, and sometimes
uh,
those can make you angry. Uh,
like Nic
so
Dufault, generally an angry guy,
yeah, he's angry little fucker. And no, but Nic Dufault wouldn't do that. He wouldn't get in somebody's face. I'm just kidding, Bud
No,
Light.
it was just no. If you guys want to
Such a
sponsor us, no problem whatsoever.
It's too bad too because we've had a good stretch of not stretch, but you know what I mean. We've had a good kind of experience coming back from the pandemic and having a few live shows because we did another one at a pizza place, a pizza restaurant, a
Oh, in
little
Bath.
Italian restaurant. Yeah, Bruno's Pizzeria in Bath. We're going to be there on Wednesday nights, and we've done shows there, and it's like everyone's happy to be involved, and yeah, we're in a little close proximity down there in the basement, but at the same time, it's like everyone's happy, and
Right.
and there's no issues. There's nobody, creating issues. There's no, at least so far.
This
And
week so far, we're one
but
for one. I
yeah,
guess.
well, we're gonna, by the time this comes out, maybe we'll have more under our belts. But I
Yeah.
could be wrong. But it's nice to have people just be happy to be out and having a drink and sitting with friends and having a bite to eat and listening to some people try to do comedy. And
Yeah.
it's just such a stark difference from nearly a physical altercation and people dropping F-bombs and the C word and anything else you can think of.
Right. I've been
Uh,
feeling really, really good about everything that we're doing. I've gotten lots of feedback also from people who appreciate our Zoom shows, like the Hunker
Right.
Down comedy series.
Yeah.
And we ask for tips, and people send us money, and they write a little note. They say, like, really, thank you very much for doing this, because we really appreciate it, because we're not leaving the house yet until things are safe. And
Yeah.
so it's cool to get some laughs. And we talk about that during the conversation with Nick about like how we feel so good about actually producing this environment or producing this thing that
Right.
brought some laughs to people. And it's been life changing, I suppose. I mean, I never thought I would do this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't either, and working with you two over the last 3 years, say, it's been great to be able to contact a venue or be contacted by someone and say, yeah, we'll put together a show, and then do it, and then show up and have it happen where an hour and a half later everyone's happy and they've laughed, and we're happy because we got gas money in our pockets, and we've just made people laugh, and it's such a great feeling to produce stand-up comedy and be involved in stand-up comedy. And I couldn't ask for two better partners in crime when it comes to that. You guys, you have the
Yeah,
same love
I'll
that
echo
I
that.
do. Yeah, so it's really good. So what else can we say about it? But if you're listening to this and you haven't come out and seen us do comedy, please, even if you're messaging us directly to ask when the next event is, but you can find it all over social media. We're trying to keep up with the Facebook and the Instagram and the Twitter and all that, and make sure people know. And also we're trying to get out there to different venues and produce shows, and we'll anytime we'll give a shout out to Mark Turcotte with Main Event Comedy, trying to do the same. So it's definitely something, no matter where you are, if there's an opportunity to see some stand-up comedy and get a laugh, whether it's in person or by video, please do so. And obviously, as we all know, on Netflix and stuff, there's plenty of opportunity to see real professional comedians, but local comedy, amateur local, it's where it's at, because you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it starts
might be
local. Every one of those guys with the Netflix special started at an 84 Court pizza place.
Yep, at a pizza place, at a restaurant, in a basement somewhere. It's where it starts, and
Yeah.
so you never know who you might see.
Mhm.
I guess with that said, without further ado, I think we kept saying further ado for the last several episodes.
Without less ado.
Without less ado, without
Wi-
more ado,
Without much ado about
without
nothing.
without a Mountain Dew.
All right, without a Mountain Dew, here's Nic Dufault.
Nic Dufault, everyone. Thanks. Welcome to Comedy Think Tanked, first actually in-person live podcast with our good friend Nic Dufault.
Nic Dufault, hello.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks a lot for having me.
Absolutely. Good Lord, good Christ. Thanks for offering up your garage.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
The back shed of the bachelor pad.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty sweet.
Where I hang my bodies and don't bang all the chicks,
Well,
I'm glad you cleaned up before we got here.
It's amazing what chloroform and bleach will do.
we are
on
off
sale at
the
BJ's.
rails. I want to mark the time, 35 seconds in.
35 seconds in, and the police are knocking.
It's a new record.
Wow. All right. No, we're here. We're in beautiful Lewiston, Maine, with our good friend Nic Dufault, the third member of our River Comics comedy production team. The three of us started this 2.5 years ago.
Yep.
And now we're going to memorialize it with a little podcast, and you'll be the first guest that we actually can reach out and touch if necessary.
I mean, I'm open to that also, so feel free.
Yeah, we know. We know.
My shoulders are tight.
What's going on? I mean, we're coming out of, we're still in a pandemic, technically speaking, but it's been a year since we've really been able to do anything together.
Yeah, we were just saying before we turn this bad boy on that this is the pretty much the first time I've seen you since November, and it's been a while. I seen Leonard one time. We happened to run into each other before we got posters for a show, and it's great to be with you guys. I like you said, it definitely doesn't hold the same candle to have it virtually, so it's good to be in person.
Yeah, it is nice to see each other and actually be here with each other. To see each other's pants.
It's true. First time I've worn any. Thank God they fit.
We started this interview, and I just out of habit, I started taking my pants off. Like I'm not used to talking to people with pants on now.
This is so true. It's nuts.
It's weird. Like it's weird actually, like looking and talking at people and not watching porn on another screen. Like, it's so weird.
Oh, you're giving away secrets now.
Yep.
Yeah, I say that often too. Like I'm watching people in Zoom meetings. I'm like, why aren't these two women kissing? Computers aren't for this.
Where's that button you can fast forward 10 seconds, like 15 times to get to the good stuff?
Oh my God.
We got to get Pornhub as a sponsor, I guess.
We should.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now we have to reach out. We're obligated.
We have to reach around and out.
And there'll be another hour of those jokes.
So this would be a good time if you want to just like skip to the next podcast. You're probably welcome to do that.
There's plenty of them out there, that's for sure.
Yes.
So we started this podcast in our little answer to not being able to do much else live and in person, as we've mentioned. But going back to starting out with the River Comics production team, like Nick, tell us your memories of meeting us and getting into comedy, and like we're gonna let it flow from there.
Yeah, it's actually quite funny because I remember them both vividly. When we started, so as a backdrop, Leonard and I and several other friends now that we've met through comedy started stand up through Lewiston Adult Ed class taught by Don Hartill, and that was spring of 2018. So we, kind of went on from there, and I remember seeing Leonard up the first time, had a sweater vest on, thought he was really stiff. I'm like, Jesus, this is going to be rough, like it was for all of us, and just didn't get to know him. And it's kind of weird to look at it now and to think that you guys are like some of my closest friends now, and just like when you first meet somebody and the first impression you have, I'm like, boy, this guy's going to suck at comedy. Like, and I got up there and I told street jokes, not knowing any better.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and Don was like, well, you didn't write that joke. And I was like, clearly I didn't. Did you hear how fucking funny it was?
Then Nick was like, yeah, you said to be funny on the microphone.
So kind of learned that, and seen a few other street jokes along the way, but definitely tried to stay away from those bad boys. And with meeting you, Nick, I remember a few classes in, you came in and guest taught in Don's class, and I remember you gave some really good feedback that I didn't happen to write down because I didn't expect much. And I remember chasing you down, walking out with my buddy Kevin, and I was like, hey, what did you write in your notebook? And you're like, I don't fucking know. Like, here, let me pull it up. And like, you gave it to me, and just I had seen you around a few other times, and we started doing more shows like with Mark Turcotte and whatnot, and the rest is history. Then we decided to kind of branch out on our own and found the River Comics.
Yeah, that was I think an accurate description of how it all went down, kind of by fate.
Yeah, I remember one of those classes when Don said, "Oh, we happen to be like maybe it was our second Thursday or third Thursday, and of the class." And Don said Mark Turcotte had an open mic at Bare Bones Beer in Lewiston. and she's like, we should just all go there. And then I remember that was the first time I, got on a microphone in public and told any of my jokes.
Yeah, and I was just going to say I remember, like you just said, you really took the bull by the horns in, just kind of going after it and getting on mics and stuff. So when I started this, the job I had at the time, the work I was doing, I was totally stressed out, and I was like, I need a stress reliever or I'm going to quit. So I need to do something. So I was like, well, I can just learn how to write jokes and I can laugh, and that will be a great stress reliever. I don't have to perform. Day one, she's like, oh, and so you're performing a 5-minute set during your graduation show. And I'm like, cool, I'm not performing, period. I'm not doing it. Like, it's not going to happen. So, kind of just evolved from there. And we got our first couple of chuckles in class, and then it got more, got a few laughs. And you're like, you know what, this is pretty cool. Maybe I can do this, and really tried to put the work in. And the rest is history. Did the graduation show. And I remember happened to make the mistake of telling one of my bosses at work that I was doing this. And she's like, that is the coolest thing in the world. We're all going. And I literally counted, I think I had 14 people from work back, way before COVID, when you could pack the joint. And I was just like, I don't know how this is going to happen. And, like you said, it was the most welcoming crowd I think any of us will be in front of is a graduation show like that.
Yeah.
It was just a fantastic experience, and I was hooked from then on. I remember that was the first time I met Mark Turcott, because I wasn't in class when he came in to guest teach in Don's class. So that was literally the first time I met him, is when he brought me up as as the host of that show. And I remember going to talk to him, and I'm like, man, this was cool. Maybe I'll ask me to do it again or something like that. And now he's definitely one of my closest friends as well. So it's like you said, it's all fate, and it's super, super cool how that and how life comes together, to be honest.
Right. It was interesting because Julie Poulin was in that class also. And we just had a conversation with Dennis Price, and I was mentioning to him that I met Dennis and Julie when they did like an improv show at Kennebec Savings Bank when I used to work there.
Very cool.
At the Governor Hill Mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I was like, oh, and I seeing her again, I was like, oh, I know her from someplace. And then all these things just sort of wrapping back on themselves and having these connections all around the state for comedy. It's been great.
Yeah, and Julie's starting to kind of get back into stand up. From what I've seen, she's on a few shows and has been on a couple. So I think I've heard them say it's fairly rare to be 3 years in and still have 3 people from a stand up class, adult ed, that are still doing it 3 years out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think usually when you have a workshop or whatever, the average, at least it seems, out of however many people you have in the class, is like 2 to 3 people go on to continue doing it because everyone else is like, ooh, I don't know if I can keep going and keep writing and keep trying. And there's just a few of us weirdos out there that think like, I really love doing this and I really have to keep doing it. And then for whatever reason, years and years later, you're just like, I'm still going. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why, but do you remember, Nick, like the first time you made a group of people laugh that wasn't necessarily like your family? Like, do you remember how old you were, or what the circumstances surrounding like that first time you're like, oh, interesting. That was cool to get people to laugh.
Yeah, I've always liked being in front of people. Like, I'm not that I'm not nervous. Hell, going up on stage now, I'm still nervous. But something that I'm like willing to face the fear and kind of be nervous, but still do it anyway. I remember in elementary school, for like 5 or 6 years straight, I did the talent show. And it wasn't,
really? Okay.
Wasn't necessarily anything comedy. It definitely wasn't telling jokes. I remember I did Marty Robbins' white sport coat and a pink carnation, something like that, and I like peeled the carnation off my white sport jacket and smelled it and threw it into the crowd in 5th grade, shit like that. So like always liked entertaining, but it wasn't jokes. And I feel like this is, kind of, I don't know, it's different because I feel like I might have found a niche, or at least something my passion, something I really enjoy, but also,
Right.
Like Leonard and I do improv too. And that kind of stemmed from, taking a class to just try to get me more comfortable on stage and just just kind of flex different muscles for comedy. So, just kind of like that. But I think that's how it all started. I had no problem with that. I know you said without family, but I remember writing poems for my cousin and my aunt's big birthday parties that we'd have at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And I'd deliver those in front of people. And those were definitely comedy, where it was all inside jokes and kind of, just different things that the guest of honor would really understand, but it was funny for everybody else too. So that was definitely the first experience I remember getting laughs.
Oh wow, that's cool. How old were you when you wrote poems and whatnot for your family?
I would say that was probably towards the end of elementary school at the earliest, and then through middle school and into high school. So,
that's awesome.
About that age.
So you've kind of grown up being an entertainer of sorts. Yeah, that's neat.
Something I enjoy.
A child actor.
yeah. Not paid, not known, just all the good stuff. Just no glam, just all the bullshit.
Yeah. But still getting people's reaction.
Sure.
That's cool.
Yep.
That's fun. Huh. That's something I didn't know about you.
No. Yeah. No.
I can see it though. I can definitely see how you would. I mean, you're very family orientated, and I'm sure growing up you were a ham of
I would say I was a ham. Yeah. Got in trouble a lot.
That's cool. You grew up here in Lewiston, right?
I did.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. A mile up the road.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, just a mile from here.
Yep.
Homeboy.
Okay. Literally 1 mile. Yep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's like growing up here in Maine in Lewiston, like it shaped who you are, or like do you think no matter what you would have been who you are?
I think there's definitely, it attributed to it a lot. I think Lewiston has a difficult reputation in a lot of ways, the dirty Lou and stuff like that. But like you can see it now. This where I'm at isn't a bad part of town, and I enjoy where I'm at. I like it. Take pride in it a lot. I loved high school. Definitely have a lot of passion for the school, but along with the hometown, like I definitely a homebody, and sticking close to home, obviously. But like a big experience for me was going away to college in New Hampshire. St. Anselm, and just kind of branched out there, and it was the only out-of-state school I applied to. So just kind of really wanting to get out of my comfort zone, which is kind of translates a lot to comedy.
Right.
That's what that is. So yeah.
When you were in college, was there ever any opportunity to perform comedy, or did you ever seek it out?
Definitely didn't seek it out. The only exposure I had to it, was when we did the adult ed class 3 years ago. When, like I said, I kind of didn't, I'm not performing. It's not going to happen. I'm just going to have some laughs for myself, and that's it. So definitely didn't seek it out. It's in Manchester, so I know there's a few places there. I'm blanking on the names, but spots we've talked about trying to hit or whatever, going down from Mike. I think one's Strange Brew. Do they do comedy?
They at one point they did, and Mike Gray mentioned on his interview about a place out west of Lake Winnipesaukee. I can't remember the name of that place now. That's currently going, but I know
is it Curly's?
Maybe, but I'm not sure.
Be. That's in Rochester, I believe.
And we know, there's definitely some shows being produced currently at some cinemas. With Rob Steen and whatnot, and his organization, Chunky's Cinemas and whatnot, and then of course the Shashkeen Pub right down in downtown Manchester.
That might be the one I was thinking of too.
That was a pretty cool run.
Shashkeen for sure.
I mean, I guess now's a better time, as good a time as any to talk about the River Comics and comedy production and whatnot. But what about like your comedy influences? Like who do you watch, who's like a professional comedian, or who are not even professionals necessarily, but who do you look to say like, okay, I want to be like that, or trying to mold myself after that person?
I mean, you guys will appreciate this, kind of knowing the backstories, but for the listeners and whatnot, I always get the most shit for being a comic and not knowing a lot of the biggest comics. Like I love comedy, I just don't. You'll be like, oh, this guy or that guy, and I'll be like, who? And you're like, oh, he's only one of the biggest comics in the world for 30 years. You don't know who he is? Like, I don't know. It's just,
He had a TV show in the 90s, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I know. And therefore I didn't watch it. No, influences for me, Gilbert Gottfried for one, for sure. Also, Dana Carvey. I mean, I love impressions. Frank Caliendo is another one. He had a TV show, but was huge before the TV show, and I didn't like the show, but I love his stuff. So those are definite influences for sure.
You are very good at impressions.
I dabble. I appreciate it.
I can't do them. I know that.
I think, honestly, Nick, I think it's just, I don't know that I'm that good. I have the balls to do them.
Good
which
point.
is
Yep.
whether or not they're absolutely spot on. I'll be the first to tell you they're probably not. I think some of them are good. Definitely some are better than others, but I enjoy doing them. So I feel like that might translate to the comedy and what I'm putting forth on stage for the audience, that I'm enjoying it, what I'm doing. I'm doing it as much for myself as I am for somebody else.
Right. If you're actually enjoying it, then it shows on stage.
Yep.
And then it doesn't matter how good or bad the impression is. It's like, hey, people are laughing at what's happening on stage. Not that like they've closed their eyes and are like, oh wait, did Arnold Schwarzenegger just walk in here?
Wow, I haven't done that in months. It's been a year.
Hurt your throat.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you gotta limber up.
You have a
first.
Ricola, any of you?
So then with us with the River Comics, we were in the class ended and we started hitting up a bunch of open mics, and then we were starting thinking like, whoa, wouldn't it be cool if we didn't have to drive 40 miles to get to an open mic? And let's figure this out, guys. What do we got to do?
Or meet other people and figure out what it is that they're doing, and then who they are, and get in with them and get on the list, and this and that for open mics, or get into their show and whatnot. So yeah, we started producing shows. What was the first show we produced?
Jesus, that's a good trivia question.
I think it was at 84 Court.
Yep,
84 Court.
Yeah,
be my guess.
So they were like, I don't know if we legitimately just called it an open mic or if we just booked a show. It was probably an open mic.
I think we did an open mic and said, yeah, I think you're right. It was not that long ago, but at the same time, it feels like many moons, and it. So that grew into what then? I think
Pizza with Friends.
Pizza with Friends, having a booked show.
Right, a booked showcase, and
sometimes it was pizza with in an empty parlor, but
sometimes it was pizza with friend.
But that's true for comedy, right?
That's absolutely. I was going to say it's a grind. It's not glamorous by any stretch of the imagination. I would dare say it's a fact for where any of us are right now. And I think even once you start hitting the road and the circuits, and if you're lucky enough to do colleges and the bigger stuff, it's still not glamorous. It's a grind.
Yeah, I think that was one of the hardest things when we started all of this was understanding how 1 week we could have 40 people packed at 84 Court, and we're like, holy shit, look at how many people are here listening to us practice jokes, and then the next week it's like, I was like, no one. There's no one here. I was like, who's showing up? Oh, I don't know. No one.
Yeah, and it was all like dependent on the weather or the time of year, or like if the Super Bowl was that week, like right, like it was
right. Or is there a snowstorm that night? And like, hey, we did exactly the same. We advertised the same, which we did a lot. And like you said, it's either 40 people or no people. Like. Sometimes there was a balance, but it really did seem feast or famine. But I think the cool part with that, looking for a silver lining, is that you get to refine your own stuff. That's when we would workshop and we'd really enjoy, hey, I like workshopping. Maybe we devote 15 minutes of the last hour of this mic to, just kind of figuring out how to workshop a joke if anybody wants feedback. That's the valuable stuff, which I think kind of lends its hand to happening when not a lot of people show up.
Right. Yeah. I remember times when I had the speaker there, or both speakers even, and I just hadn't set anything up yet. And I'm like, well, if no one's coming, guys, why don't we just sit here and just write stuff.
Right.
And if anybody wants to stand up, and say something out loud, Jesus, it's just the four of us at a table. Just stand up. We don't need a mic and speaker to do this now. So let's actually do some writing.
Yeah, it's coming back to me now. I remember that.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty common start in comedy for a lot of people. You hear a lot of the bigger comics. Like, I can't tell you how many times I performed for 3 drunk guys at a bar, and just like, I didn't get a drink thrown at me. That was a standing ovation for me, or something like that. So I just think it's a common start for a lot of people, and it's a small community. It's a small family, if you will. I mean, especially for us, but in comedy, like the connections we've been able to make, and how people get their start, I think is a lot similar for a lot of people.
I think I've heard that quite a bit, and even your biggest name comedians working today and throughout history, like they talk about the fact that we all start, and it's neat to have that same connection with those people. Like, okay, they did this, they did that too at their own, whatever their 84 court was, whatever their first open mic was. It's exactly the same scenario and atmosphere and feeling that we have now currently. And maybe if we're lucky someday we get to be in their shoes where they are, performing at the Beacon Theater or what I don't whatever.
I think it'd be cool. Like someday when we get invited to go onto the show, like comedians in hover cars drinking coffee, that we'll tell them the story about, oh yeah, the three of us, and we were just hanging out at 84 Court, and like that's where we started doing all our writing, and then and next thing you know, we opened up a comedy club on Mars, and
I think you're
what's
giving
the
us
deal with the red soil?
I think you're giving us too much credit. I don't think any one of us are going to live that long.
I sure as hell am not.
Yeah.
Maybe this pandemic has got me out less drinking 5 nights a week and eating pizza in Burger King. But I was going to say my idea would have been comedians telling dick jokes drinking Bud Light. But that would have been my idea.
I think that's currently what it is, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So as to that, though, like, how do you find... what do you like? What do you dislike about producing comedy shows? Obviously, we haven't got to do many recently in the last year, but talk about your likes and dislikes for producing.
Yeah, I think producing is an excellent opportunity to network within comics. I mean, how many times have we all worked with somebody and got really good friends with them? Like you said, Mike Gray's one you just mentioned. Like. If we, not necessarily that we were producing, because I know Leonard and I met Mike before we were producing, but, it lends its hand to meeting so many different people and kind of, one thing for us, I would say for the three of us, is we really kind of, it sounds corny, but we set it up to do it the right way. Hey, we want to get known for trying to get to know people and to do things the right way. If we can pay for a spot, we're going to do it. And, we kind of got known for doing things the right way. And that's where we're at. Just trying to grind. And like you said, producing, you get to network. We all get to get up a lot more because we're producing shows, and, we get to hang out with all these other people. I think the beauty of it, Leonard says it all the time. I think, I don't know, just my opinion, but I think he gets the most out of producing out of all of us. He loves sitting in the back of the room, watching everybody come in, the room filled with laughter, and being like, I created that. That's what I did or what we did.
Yeah,
and that's probably the highest point of the mountain for producing. The low parts, what I don't like is that there's a lot of grunt work with it. Got to carry the speakers, got to put the flyers out, got to advertise, and you got to hope you get asses in seats. And like we just said, whether it be for a booked open mic, whether it be for a regular open mic, or whether it be for a show at a venue hall, you hope people show up, and you hope you do it the right way. And honestly, it may not be that you did or didn't do it the right way. Sometimes, you luck out and there's no snowstorm in the winter and a lot of people show up, and sometimes it's not. So that's a part of it that I would say is not glamorous and that I don't like.
Yeah. It's definitely a point of pride I have when realizing like, oh, yeah, this is something we created, even though I think I've mentioned it something like, I'm not the one up there doing a yo-yo joke, but like when seeing Colby Bradshaw joking about his yo-yo and people just dying in the crowd, it's just like it's amazing to me that I had any part in this at all. Yeah, and so like that we produce this sort of thing, just for the fact that like, oh, we messaged Colby or we messaged Connor or we messaged Mark and say like, oh, can you be here? And then like suddenly, a week later, there's 50 people in a room laughing because of something we started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems minute if you're not in the scene, but for people who are wondering, like that's a wonderful feeling to have, that you just did one little thing, like you flipped one little switch, and now you're bringing happiness to That's pretty cool. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a deep and maybe kind of corny way to look at it, but I think like just trying to synergize everything, like we talked about, professional comedians having the same grind as a lot of us, like to think that us putting this group of, people together to produce shows, and we've had people that have performed in the World Series of Comedy. We've had people that have been on Jimmy Kimmel. Like, it's just, it's all people doing the same thing. And just to think that our small group, could garner that kind of talent and whatnot, and I'm sure we're gonna go bigger. We have big aspirations that we want to just like have one blowout show. And hey, Leonard, you know what? Forget the checkbook. Like, we're blowing it all on this show.
Oh yeah, we've said that before. Like, we want to have like a nest egg, and then we just like, we got $10,000 in the bank. Now we have zero.
Yep.
Because
Get somebody like John Mulaney to tell like one punchline. Don't even set the joke up, and we'll pay you $10,000, and then
he's
just
gonna
blow it all on that.
he'll come out and file his nails for 20 minutes.
If he's listening, perhaps we don't have that kind of money. And if we really did, I'd be hiring a lawyer to keep these two from.
We have a
keep us out
comic
of the
friend that
check-
is a lawyer, so we might be able to find something else.
We are on the hunt for angel investors who want to just give us $10,000 to have John Mulaney file his nails on stage.
Yeah, any sponsor that's listening that wants
Undercover comic sponsors.
But it's funny. You talk about this sort of thing, and it's also like we get really possessive of our baby. Like, so like as much as like we think like, oh, this is amazing what's happening on stage, we're like, sometimes I get stressed out in the back of the room when I realize, hey, there's a table way over there that didn't fucking see what just happened on stage because they're chatting amongst themselves. And I'm like, oh my God, shut up. And I don't want to be like that asshole host who comes over and says, just bangs on the table like, do you guys see what's going on over there?
Yeah. And I mean, that's another part of it too. You have to, whether you're a host or a producer of a show, you kind of have to make sure that it flows without question and that there's no kinks and stuff like that. So that's another part of it that kind of sucks is you can lay back and watch the show to a degree, but if shit hits the fan, it's on you to fix it. So absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not our job to, like, we got the butts in the seats, and it's not our job to tell those butts what to do. When they're there, people pay money maybe to go watch a comedy show, and if they want to talk through it or look at their phone or whatever, that's on them. I mean, it really does kind of suck, and I wish more people kind of, because comedy's different. Like you can go into a bar, if you're a guitar player or a singer-songwriter or even a whole band, you can go into a bar or a restaurant and set up and play, and the patrons of that establishment can do whatever they want still, and they're still going to enjoy the music. But for comedy, you got to watch it. And it's, it's not on us to put on a show and make them watch it. If they don't want to watch it, that's on them. But, it's really kind of too bad. And
yeah,
I've gained a greater appreciation for that aspect of everything,
without question. And I'm kind of thinking back to Mark's podcast with you guys, if he had talked about it, and I don't think he had, but kind of giving him credit, but stealing the thunder at what he said. We've had many conversations, he and I, where he said that stand-up comedy is the most disrespected art form there is. Like if you get somebody, hey, Nick Gordon goes into a party, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm a comic. Oh, cool, I want to go to one of your shows and heckle you. Like no other, somebody's not going to say that to a musician. I'm going to go there and yell "Freebird, fucker!" Like play it. It's not going to happen.
That's so true.
I yelled "Freebird" during Nick's set at Bruno's.
Did you? You did? Did you play it?
Because you couldn't remember your joke, and then I was sitting over there with Ann-Marie, and I said, "Do Freebird, Freebird."
See, I was so focused on not passing out for some reason. That was a weird show. We not to get too much off topic, it's still on topic, but that was the first time I had an audience member within 6 feet. Like there was a woman literally sitting in front of me. Like, she could have reached out and touched me.
Don't cough, lady.
Yeah, exactly. It was so weird. And they're eating food. I'm like, this is the strangest thing. But obviously, we're getting to a point where we can do that. So
comedians telling jokes, stealing French fries. That could have been.
Oh, there we go. On Mars.
Yeah.
On Mars.
We're still in the year 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, now it's going to get really off topic. There's a satellite going around the Earth right now that helps to clean up the trash in space.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It's like a bulldozer sort of thing. Like it has a magnet on it, and it grabs onto space debris, and it pushes it back into the atmosphere. So
Do you
it
know
burns.
if it's cleaned up Leonard's banana peel joke yet, or is
No,
it
unfortunately, no.
Okay.
still hasn't got it?
All right. Edit point.
Yeah.
Editors get on this part here.
Yeah, that's funny.
And then why did the River Comics break up after that
I don't know.
podcast?
It was the weirdest thing. Hey guys, I'm available to help you out. I get my vaccine next month. What's up? Hit me up, guys. Where are you?
No, we'll keep it going at least for a little while.
Yeah, just for a little while.
The break has been good though. The break has been good. So us to recharge all our batteries and whatnot.
Yeah, raring to go now for sure.
Yeah.
We've talked about that, and it's just kind of I was thinking about that as we were talking a little bit earlier. This break has really given you a chance, like you said, to recharge and to pause. And for me, without sounding too, I don't know, stupid, like to reflect on it. Like I remember when I would set goals for myself. I want to get up and do comedy, whether it's 2 people or 200 in a room, X amount of times a year. Let's say 75 times a year. In Maine, that's, I don't know, you have to go out a few nights a week and do it, and there's not 10 mics a night like there is in New York City or LA or Boston, something like that. So now, I mean, Jesus, I can count on 2 hands how many times I've done anything that's especially not virtual. Like we'll have a virtual mic that's taken off, but it's totally different to look back and be like, Jesus, I was out 3 nights a week. Now I've been out 3 nights in 6 months. Like, it's great.
So true.
So other shows that you've been on in the past, like you've opened for a couple of pretty famous people, right?
Yeah. First one, Christine Hurley. She's known as the Queen of Boston Comedy. This past summer, she was on America's Got Talent and had a good TV spot where they interviewed her and her husband, Jimmy, and that was fantastic.
So how did that happen?
Yeah, so I have a friend, Sue Dunham, her late husband, Tommy Dunham, was a Boston comic and worked with Lenny and Mike Clark and Steve Sweeney and a bunch of all those other guys in Boston. He worked with Christine and they got to be really good friends. Just kind of beyond the shows. Christine had a show at Jonathan's in Agunquit and needed an opener last minute and was talking to her friend Sue and said, hey, you have a friend that started comedy, I don't know, a year ago, 8 months ago, I can't remember what it was. Can he open for me? And I'm like, holy shit. Like, okay, yeah, cool. And I'm, just driving home from, where I worked in Falmouth to grab my stage attire and
the comedy super suit.
Yep, the comedy super suit for one bit, and just driving back down to Agunquit and meeting up, and it was an awesome experience. Was hearing about that place, Jonathan's Nic Dufault, which I'm sure we're pretty familiar with. I've seen a lot of his stuff on Comedy Central and whatnot. He's been on the roast and stuff. I think he said that was his favorite venue in Maine. So that was really cool to do that. And then the other one, which was right before the pandemic struck, end of January 2020, got the opportunity to open for Gilbert, which was kind of an out-of-body experience and something absolutely insane. And one of probably the coolest, I mean, without question, comedy moment I've had thus far.
Yeah, what was it like meeting him?
It was pretty friggin' crazy. I'll give you that. So I had heard, with Gilbert, he's, he goes out there to make a living. I'm not going to say he doesn't enjoy it. He can speak for himself, but he's done it for so long that the novelty is definitely worn off, at least from what I've seen. So I just try to stay out of the way. And I remember Rob Steen, one of the producers along with Mark that produced that show, I got to the venue and he's like, hey, give me a couple minutes. I'll have you go meet Gilbert. And I had met him at a show once before, just, hi, how are you? Nice set. Thank you. Here's a picture. And I met him and he was really, really cool. But I stayed out of the way. And then I got off stage in that venue and, there's 175 people just dying laughing. Mark was up after me. And I got out and sat in the parlor of the old theater, and it's Gilbert and Rob Steen sitting on the couch with nobody else around. So I went down and sat next to him. Rob took my picture with Gilbert, and just then Rob left. So I remember it being Gilbert and I on the couch, and I'm like, holy shit. And I'm not a selfie guy at all. Wanted to take a selfie with Gilbert in the background and just being like, oh, another casual day at the office, and I remember just talking to him, and I was like, don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Cause he strikes me as a personality that he'll be like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, who are you? Get out of my face, kid. I don't want to talk to you. So I was like, don't let that ruin your experience of opening for him if you piss him off and he doesn't want to talk. So I literally sat there on my phone and he was on his phone, and I'm just like, holy shit, he's right here. And I didn't say anything other than the weather, like, man, is it cold tonight or something? Yes, it's very cold. And that was pretty much it, just didn't ruin it. And then at the end, my favorite memory, other than, performing and whatnot and that whole experience, but probably the coolest memory I had with Gilbert was at the very end of the show. He was selling his autographed, 8x10s or whatever, his t-shirts and CDs, whatever he had, DVDs, got to the end of the line and met him, and I was like, I opened for you. Oh, that's cool, awesome. And then we started talking, and I don't remember I know what it was. How I got onto it was I was saying he did Jay Leno, and I really enjoyed his spots where he did impressions. I remember one he did Harry Potter on Leno. Okay. Did a bit of him being Harry Potter, and he would ask him questions about Harry Potter, and he'd answer it very funny. But another one he did was Yoda. Well, you both know, because you know me well, I've never seen Star Wars. I do not like anything like that. So I get telling
I don't know any movies.
Yeah, any movies, but especially Star Wars. I will not watch them. It's just not my thing. So I start telling Gilbert, and then you did that other thing, that green thing from Star Wars. I can't remember his name. And I swear to God, it went on for like 5 minutes. He's like, I don't remember his name either. What was that thing? And I'm just like,
Kermit? Is it Kermit?
Oh my God. And it literally got to the point where our conversation stalled. So I looked over at Mark and whoever else was there, and I was like, who's the guy from Star Wars that's green that speaks in riddles in his sentences? They're backwards. Everybody's like, Yoda, are you fucking stupid? And I'm like, oh, Yoda, yeah. And he's like, oh yeah, I did those bits and it was really cool. So that's probably my favorite memories that I got to open for him. But we also had a conversation where neither of us could remember who Yoda was from Star Wars. And it wasn't just me, so it was super cool.
You are the only two people in the entire fucking world who don't know who Yoda is, and probably two people that could do a good Yoda impression. Like you should watch Star Wars just so you can do a Yoda impression.
We'll see. But yeah,
that's fucking funny.
Oh man, it was so funny. Yeah. So anybody that wants a good laugh, look up his spots on Gilbert's spots on Leno when he does Harry Potter and Yoda. Super funny.
Have you met other famous people in your life, and would that have been the coolest meeting of a famous person, to date?
That's a really, really good question. You guys know I'm a huge sports guy, absolute diehard, biggest Boston Bruins fan there is. So met a lot of the Bruins, Ray Bork, Byron Defoe, his jersey's sitting right in our garage where we're recording right now that he signed for me. Stuff like that. But I mean, they're celebrities in New England and in the hockey community, but I don't know if you'd consider them celebrities outside. So pretty much that. Anybody that's a Celtics fan, Ernie DiGregorio was Rookie of the Year. I went to a Celtics game and painted my face white and green, and he was washing his hands in the bathroom while I was painting my face, and he asked to take a picture with me because I had my face painted. So like that's a celebrity, so to speak, asking to take a picture with me. That was really cool. Jimmy Dunn from Nesson, he's a comic. Yeah. He's done some stuff on Nesson. Had met him. That was cool. So yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest for me, and especially the most well-known celebrity that I've met outside of the sports world, kind of most well-known. So I would say that's the coolest.
Cool. Yeah. And you had a very interesting interaction with him where you have a great story to tell.
Yeah. It was as it's going on, I'm like, this is going to be the coolest fucking story. Like,
he's going to be in one of those hover cars, and he's like, and then the kid asked me, started talking about the weather, and I was so nervous.
You know what I hate? Hovercrafts. I could just totally see him doing something like that.
That is an impression right there, and that's a good one. And I think you need to do more of that.
I'll write it down. We're gonna talk about doing a comedy show on Mars and just different celebrities, what they would say about it. I like it.
If nothing else comes out of this episode,
I'm glad we're recording because I'll be like, what was I saying I needed to write down again?
Oh my god. Oh man, that's too good. So not to steer too far away from all that stuff because that's gold. Do you like hosting shows, or do you like to just perform on a show? I mean, like we said before, Leonard likes to produce the shows, and obviously, each one of us performs during our shows and hosts our shows and whatnot. What's your favorite part of a comedy show?
Okay, good. I was like, Jesus, this is an intervention. This is what we're getting at. Do you like just performing? We're kicking you out of the River Comics, and it's on Wright.
We all love you, Nick.
Yeah. We're here because we care about you very much.
Yeah, we feel that you have a problem.
We're kind of in a circle, and we're here because we love you very much. Honestly, my answer to that is yes. I enjoy both of them very much, hosting and just doing a spot. I think, as we've all had to step up and host quite a bit, where we were branching out before the pandemic, you build a different muscle. And I think that it really kind of lends itself to different skills. You really have to have a pulse very much on what's going on with the show. We've had shows, where it kind of goes off the rails a little bit, be it from, a comic or something happening in the audience. So a host really has to keep that pulse and to have a joke. Leonard uses the phrase all the time, keeping a joke in your back pocket, that you're ready to go with that. Hey, it's a 30-second bit. It won't take away too much of the time, but hey, if we have to get back on track and kind of set the stage again, so to speak, we're able to do that. So I enjoy that. Hosting,
that's something you're really good at. That's something I have a really hard time telling jokes in between comics because I get too nervous about what I'm actually going to say and how long the bit is. But I'll admit you do that really well.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think that. I think it's just something that you have to, like I said, keep that pulse. But I think, to make sure that you're not discrediting yourself too much, I think the best host knows how to stay out of the way. If you get up there, we've both been on freaking mics, I won't say where, when the host will do 15 minutes between each comic, and you're like, oh, no problem. Like, yeah, go ahead, do all of your stuff. You want to tell them again? See if you get more of a reaction this time? Like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm up next. I have time to go grab a sandwich.
At another venue.
Literally, Nick and I will fondly remember Leonard getting ready to go up at a mic. We're all sitting there, the three of us together, and Leonard's like, I'm going to walk to the stage, make him uncomfortable to get him off, get the host off of telling his jokes before I get up there. Like, I'm not dealing with this. And you kept creeping closer and closer and closer. Oh man. So I just think, you have to be able to have something in your back pocket and knowing when to get the hell out of the way, but it's not about you. You're there to make the show better and to make all the other performers better, and more important than anything to make the crowd happy and make them have a great night. So
right,
I think that's the most important part. It's not about you getting up there and having to tell jokes. You don't have to, but when you have to, you need to know when.
And to try not to derail the whole thing.
Exactly right.
Yeah, by telling a really off-color suicide joke here. But hey,
who would do that?
In his defense, that's the only thing that came to mind at the moment. So
in his defense, Nick Gordon could. Ooh boy!
Oh, we're talking about Side by Each.
Oh no! We're talking about every.
Yeah, we're talking about everything.
Time.
I know what reference. I know what show you were talking about.
Oh yeah. But I'm also, when he made the suicide reference, I remember one time you got up there and you didn't have your best set, and the only thing I could think of to say was, that was Nick Gordon. Make sure you hide the rope from Nick Gordon.
I didn't say that.
No, I did.
Oh, you said that. Okay.
For the record, that was absolutely me. I'm not calling anybody else out, but that's what I thought you meant with the suicide reference, and I think about that often, and I feel really badly I did that, but you took it in stride. I definitely have bombed my fair share and then some, and or you might call it a tanketed for this show. Something like that. So, is it
comedy? Think tank.
It isn't taint. Like it's not like sponsored by duck butter. Like
No, I gotta get this soundboard here working so I can actually have a recording of Nick saying of Nick Gordon saying the actual title of the podcast.
I think it's just difficult. I don't think it's that you're doing anything wrong. I think it's just a hard work, to articulate.
So okay, let's get this on the record. It's Comedy Think Tanked and TANKED.
You made that seem so easy.
ED though, right?
I know, yeah.
Tanked.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it looked good on paper when I wrote it down. The idea behind it is sound, as far as I'm concerned. Like it's tanked. Like you're drinking and you're thinking about comedy, and so it's Comedy Think Tanked, and we all know what a think tank is, right? Washington D.C. think tank. You hear it on the news and whatnot. Got it. But you add comedy to that. That's what we do. Like right, every time we think of something, we're like, oh wow, that's pretty good. But when you're drunk, you think of things that are even better. You ever hear the saying, "Write drunk, edit sober"?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like you combine all these things together, and I feel like it's a natural thing. And when I wrote it down, when I first wrote the name of the podcast down, I was like, oh, this is great. This is perfect.
Oh, man, it reminds me of...
And then when we started having to say it, and especially Leonard.
The very first fucking episode, he's like, oh my God, Leonard, what is going on? Why can't you say this word?
Think tank. Yeah, I still maintain it's not Leonard's fault. It's not the easiest thing, but
I hear you. We'll see how far we can take this. Maybe we got to change the name.
Let's just change it to W2F.
I say think tanked. I think that would be funny. Kind of
Can't do that.
Yeah,
maybe not. I mean, you can.
Yeah, we can. I
That's
guess.
a triple X.
Yep.
Show then.
Jenna Jameson is a headliner. Now you were talking about writing drunk and editing sober. It reminds me of a good comedy buddy that we have, Josh Bilodeau. I thought of him in a while. He had talked about how he had written this great bit while he was either drunk or stoned or maybe both. And he got up the next day and it was literally squiggles. He didn't write any letters and it was so vivid in his mind. So vivid. So he just talked about how he was so excited the next morning. Holy shit, this bit's going to be great. And there wasn't one actual letter in the paper. It was just scribbles. So that's what I thought of. And
it's like the aliens possessed me.
That's
you probed your pencil to not make a letter.
That's about the extent of it.
So Nick, so we're going to end the interview with the segment we call Curse the Darkness. And I don't know if we prepared you for this, but there's
we did.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, good. So
I made sure I was prepared when I knew the several I've listened to. That was the end of it, so I had to come through with a few things. But yeah.
Oh, excellent. So we're looking for something that you want to complain about, but about which you don't have any plans to make any effort to correct or solve or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my fatness is coming through on the microphone, but a lot of the things I don't like surround food, believe it or not. Okay. So, I mean, I don't like American cheese. I'll eat it, but I don't like it.
He won't do anything about it. He won't stop other people from eating it.
I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Like, go in a craft with a weapon. I don't want to do that and be like, all right, this will just take a second. Shut all of the factories down and stop making this bullshit.
Like Jesus, knocking over the money lenders. And it's like, get this cheese out of here.
Jesus, cheddar cheese is a thing. Just use it. Get rid of it. I've literally told multiple sandwich artists off at Subway, you put that on my fucking sandwich, we gonna have a problem.
Did you go to Subway today?
Not yet. After the podcast, I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to be gassy.
Now let me just ask a follow up on the cheese thing. Is that because you have a taste for the finer things in life, or is it something about American cheese specifically that you?
I would say I don't want to come across as hoity-toity or anything. A finer thing in life, like any other cheese you have, is going to be finer than that. So I think, to my credit, it's not so much that it has to be finer. It's just that anything is better than that. But like I said, I'm not gonna not have it if that's all you have. But
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So that was one of them.
He's willing to slum it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not above it.
You'll drink Bud Light as your choice of beer,
Oh.
but if someone said all we have is Schlitz, you'll do that too.
No, I will not deviate there. No, we're talking cheese only. Bud Light, if they want to sponsor us, I drink you guys exclusively. Mark Turcott and I have coined, or on the ride to a show, we coined Bud Light as the nectar of the gods. So if you want to use that and trademark it, you owe me royalties extensively. But you can go with a little nectar of the gods Bud Light if you want.
There you go.
It's the best beer in the world. Other than that, I can't stand any bread that's not white. Rye, wheat, multigrain.
What?
I hate any other bread. Like I will not eat bread before.
You hate wheat bread?
I hate wheat bread. Like
Oh my God.
I will eat a roll up with no bread. Like you know how some people do with bologna and mustard. Like
Yeah.
I'll roll it up before I will use anything other than white bread.
Now, I want to just, because this is not a visual medium, if everyone could see the look on his face right now, he is
I'm angry.
serious.
I'm so angry right now. It's just
So.
like it shouldn't be a thing. I understand I'd be healthier, but I swear to God, I'd rather not eat than eat wheat bread. Like,
My God. My God.
But now, since you're so passionate about that, the fact that you won't do anything about it really kind of, baffles me. Like, you're extremely passionate. I mean, obviously, you do your own shopping, and when you go to Subway, you can order whatever the hell bread you want.
true.
Like, would you walk out of Subway if they said, "Oh, we're out of white bread"?
Oh, I've done it multiple times. Wow. And that is not an exaggeration.
That's intense.
Cool. All we have is that cracked wheat where it's like, hey, we just dragged this piece of bread through a field. Do you want this for your sandwich? Like, no, I'm good. And it's funny you say that because I can distinctly remember walking out of Subway multiple times.
That's
Who
awesome.
walks into a Subway and it's like, nah, I'm good. Walk out.
The fact that the Subway doesn't have any white bread is even more
God,
perplexing.
like, can I get like Italian urban cheese? Is that too much to fucking ask? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Other than that, most seafood. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I will put bacon wrapped scallops in front of me. I'll only eat the bacon. I think scallops are revolting. You know, like salmon, cedar plank salmon. I'd rather eat the cedar plank than the salmon. So yeah, that's cursing the darkness. I don't plan on, like diving into the ocean and destroying all the salmon and all the other seafood creatures that I don't like. But
That would take some effort.
yeah, I mean, that would be pretty, if I could pull that off. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, I'd be doing big things.
I think mankind will eventually get rid of all seafood anyway, somehow, some way.
Yeah, it might be.
We'll fish it to death. You don't have to worry too much.
Yep.
Yeah, in honor of Nic Dufault.
Yeah. That's great. Oh my God.
Cool. Well, Nick, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's really cool to have a podcast with the three River Comics on here. This has been really, really fun.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. Great to hang out with you guys, and I love the previous episodes you guys have had.
Thank you.
Keep it going, and love to come back sometime. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks for having us in your garage.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Cool.
Gotta go play some ping pong now.
Sweet.
Awesome. Nic Dufault, everyone. That was our great friend, Nic Dufault, for our first in-person recording. He is the third member of the River Comics comedy production team. Many thanks to Nick and his garage space for hosting us. Next time, we promise to crack a few beers and make it more tanked.
I do like beer. We can't think of a better person to have riding along these last 2.5 years, putting together shows, performing stand-up, and lately working with us by Zoom to write jokes or play games.
Yes, eager for the day we can get back to producing regular comedy shows. Like me, Dufault doesn't like long car rides, but we really need to get some road trips going again.
Yes, thank you, Leonard. And thanks to everyone who listened. Tell your friends and follow Comedy Think Tanked wherever you can. Be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Find us on Instagram at Comedy Think Tanked, Twitter at Comedy Tanked, and our website, comedythinktanked.com. Email us at comedythinktanked@gmail.com. Have a good day.
Theme music was written and produced by a minor, Ralph Birgfeld. No comedians were hurt in the production of this podcast. All audio snippets of actual funny punchlines were not written or performed by any of us or our subsidiaries. Rather, they are express written bits of professionals we admire. Let the civil actions be filed. Any opinion heard, actual or implied, is that of the Comedy Think Tank producers and their guests. Any slight, insult, affront, slur, disparaging remark, snub, rebuff, rejection, or spurning, no matter how derogatory, pejorative, or abusive you may feel it is, was not intended, but for comedic, entertaining purposes only. Thanks for listening.
You got all these extraterrestrials in your way, and nobody uses a blinker because they're not touching the fucking ground.